had that tight feeling in your stomach? Or have you ever felt like you might float away after eating certain foods? Well, my friends, you may have been bloated. So on today's health and wellness episode of ANOKHI Daily Spotlight TV, I'll be sharing some tips and tricks on how you can banish bloating for good. So the first trick is something that many of us have already utilized early in the morning: lemon water. Many of us find that lemon water helps us detoxify and kind of cleanse the body first thing, but it also has a fantastic effect on bloating as well. Now, people tend to think that when they're bloated, they should drink less water instead of drinking more water because that's going to make them feel even more bloated. But bloating tends to be because of water retention, and the body retains water when it's dehydrated because it doesn't want to lose any more fluid, thus getting that kind of bloated and swollen feeling. So what you're gonna do is take some warm water and couple it with lemon juice in order to get a really great diuretic and laxative effect that will help push out any remaining water or salt that's retained in the body. Now, the second trick is to consume food with potassium, because potassium helps reduce bloating in the body. Potassium can often be found in foods like bananas, dark leafy greens, tomatoes, spinach. Anything that's full of potassium is going to help the body reduce the amount of sodium that it retains, as well as then the amount of water that it retains, thus giving you that nice lean feeling instead of that big tight bloat. Now, many of us South Asians are quite familiar with spices like turmeric. Turmeric is fantastic for aiding digestion and ensuring that the body doesn't retain that tight bloated feeling. So how do you use turmeric? You can either add it to something as simple as milk or water, or use it in your favorite spicy dishes. Now, a lot of people find that when they consume dairy products, they experience a really tight sensation of bloating afterwards. Yogurt is a great alternative to milk because the sugar is actually pre-digested, which makes it easier on the system. So give it a try in your smoothies. So now let's talk about some tips that you can utilize in your day-to-day life to banish bloating for good. Tip number 1, keep your sodium intake to a minimum and avoid eating overly processed foods. Think about it this way: when you take in salt, your body wants to retain water. So less salt makes you flush out the water. Now, tip number 2 can be challenging for some, but it's important to limit your alcohol intake. As you know, when you drink too much, your body gets dehydrated. And like I mentioned before, when you get dehydrated, your body chooses to hold on to as much fluid as possible in order to make sure you don't get further dehydrated. So limit that alcohol intake. Now, tip number 3 tackles bloating as a result of constipation. Now, when you experience constipation, you get bloated, and in order to get rid of that constipated feeling, you obviously need to have a bowel movement. So what you need to do is focus on eating foods that hold water and will create bulk in the system. Something like wheat bran, all bran, or bran flakes are a great option. Your lifestyle can have a significant impact on digestion and therefore bloating. It's important for you to make sure that if you're sitting around all day at a desk, that you get up every 30 minutes or so and take a little walk. You also need to make sure that you get enough sleep because that's going to help balance the body and all of its chemical functions. And as well, it's important to make sure you get 30 minutes of physical activity every day. And finally, tip number 5. If your bloating becomes a chronic problem, you should make sure to see a healthcare professional. It's really important not to ignore the symptoms of bloating if it becomes a chronic issue, because this could be a symptom for something bigger. So next time you get that heavy feeling in your stomach, you know what to do. For more of our show, catch us on ANOKHImedia.com and our YouTube channel, and be sure to interact with us on Facebook and Twitter.